Waking up, oops, this was loud. So you're awake now if you were not a moment ago. Thank you for coming this morning to my talk about imposter syndrome. I know you had a lovely party last evening and that waking up was not easy. Hopefully you had a lot of fun. And today we'll be discussing imposter syndrome. Our agenda for today is the following. What imposter syndrome is and isn't, what are the classifications of it, origins and triggers, or how we actually got to have it, how to check whether we have it, and finally, we won't be solving anything, but we will be talking about some coping mechanisms to help us manage it. So let's start from the beginning. An imposter syndrome is a psychological state where you kind of feel like you're a fraud and you don't know what you're doing, and you have a feeling like people around you are going to notice at some point in time. It's an internalized fear that you're having, meaning that people outside and people you're talking to don't really notice you're battling with it because it's basically just your internal state. And for those of you who ever had the feeling that you're not competent enough in doing something, you'd be surprised to see that out of 10 people, 7 of us here, will probably have had some kind of experience in life where you thought that you were not capable of either doing your job or managing something or succeeding in school or any kind of task that you had. You might have felt that you're not quite up to it. And like I said, it's more common than you think. Imposter syndrome in some people isn't just a fear, it's a debilitating state, meaning that some people who have had experience with this, they may not be able to get out of bed. They have crippling fears and they cannot leave their house. So it's not just an issue where you kind of feel uncomfortable at work or in school. It can be a huge problem. And having therapy or just somebody to talk to about it is not a shameful thing. It's something that we need to basically do to be able to progress with our lives. But also, if you start a new job or come to a new environment and you kind of still are getting the lay of the land, you don't know what the procedure is in your new company, you don't know what's exactly expected from you. I don't know how many of you started the job and knew everything, where the coffee machine is, where your setup is, where your computer is, just everything was already organized. Sometimes you just need to kind of get acclimated. That's not imposter syndrome, that's you just being a new person on the job. So when we talk about imposter syndrome, the first thing I would like to mention is that it's not just, us in IT. It's not any particular race issue. It's not a gender issue. It's global. And many, many famous people have started speaking up about it. One of the quotes I really do like is by Maya Angelou, and she said that I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out. Meaning that somebody who has had fame and somebody who's renowned for their work is still feeling like their work is either not significant or they were lucky when they wrote something and people were just fooled. It's you not being able to contribute to the value of what you're doing to actual value. For me personally, the realization that I do have an issue with imposter syndrome was about 3 or 4 years ago. I was at a competition, like a hackathon with a few of my colleagues, and we did good. We created some kind of project it was a 24-hour thing, and we won 3rd prize, which was great. We even got some cash, we got a few pictures, and we got a day off at work, which was probably more valuable than all the rest. But I wanted to share. I was really proud of what we did, and we really did a good job. And I am a member of a Slack channel called Imposter Syndrome, where a few like-minded people like me feel more safe in discussing their personal issues. And I wrote a post. I said, okay, we did this. We won a prize. I'm really happy. It was kind of venturing outside of our comfort zone. And after writing that huge post, I stopped and could not click send because I thought to myself, wait, you're going to go to an imposter syndrome channel and you're going to brag about winning something, and people there are having issues with, attributing value to their work, and you're just going to brag and be, all up in their face. And after thinking, I don't know, a few minutes about it, I told myself that this was just ridiculous, and I needed to do something about it. So the first thing I did was click send. And after that, I did feel better, because what I received on the other end was support and confirmation, and basically that little push of energy that you sometimes need to kind of progress. But the moment that it did occur, it was like an inception, where you were kind of battling with imposter syndrome, but you're thinking that you're going to be an imposter between those people, and basically it's absurd. And I think that realization that somebody has a problem with something is the first step to kind of managing it. So let's talk about the classification. One of the most common problems that somebody that's battling with imposter syndrome has is called the imposter cycle. It's a vicious cycle that starts with something very simple. It's a task. It's an essay that you need to put in at school. It's you need to replace some kind of library in your project. It can be something simple, it can be something complex, but it always exclusively starts with a task. And for people who don't really overthink things and just are focused on what they're doing, they do the work and they get to completion. But for those who suffer from imposter syndrome, it takes a few more steps. So let's just hold off of the end for now. The first thing that they do is start feeling anxiety, doubt, fear, panic, worry. Will they be able to complete it? Do they have the necessary skills? Are they equipped enough? Will they be able to finish it in a specific amount of time? Why did they get this task? Is their boss crazy? Don't they know that they're not able to finish it? So an imposter, let's call it imposter, is going to go one of two ways. They're either going to over-prepare in extremes, or they're going to procrastinate. That's another extreme. But either way, they need to take one of those two venues to get to the actual completion. And at the end, they will either contribute too much effort or plain luck to them being able to finish what they were doing. And where the cycle comes in, the next time they get the task, they were going to feel worry, doubt, panic, anxiety, just a bit more enhanced than they did the first time. And they're going to reaffirm the same cycle with them. Now, being over-prepared is something that you might think is fine and okay, because why not be over-prepared? Why not know as much as you possibly can about the topic? First of all, we're not machines, and second of all, time is limited. So, for instance, if you need to research a topic, like imposter syndrome, you might go to Wikipedia and click on the first link, and somebody who over-prepares will scroll down through the text, and the first reference link that they encounter, which is going to be in the first or the second sentence, they're going to click on it, because they need to trickle down to that leaf to be able to say, okay, I've passed through everything, I know everything now. But if you go 2 or 3 or 4 levels in details, you're going to forget the original thing that you were discussing the first time. So, being over-prepared is sometimes very problematic. It's always problematic, but it's sometimes crippling in the way that you simply cannot do the work in the amount of time that you have. And procrastination is my personal favorite, because when you need to do something that's pressing, you kind of might feel that you need to wash the dishes first, or organize your closets by winter, summer, color coordinate things, I don't know, wash the wishes, tiles, whichever thing you can do. Maybe you need to start a collection of cards, I don't know. You will find some kind of task that's completely unrelated to what you need to do, and you're going to diligently dig into it and be proficient in it, definitely. YouTube with babies eating lemons is one thing, kittens doing silly stuff. Basically, you will find some kind of activity, and by the time you get to the actual task, your house will be spotless and you will have at least 3 or 4 more new hobbies. So, the next categorization would be being special or best. Now, if you were, I don't know, really good at something in school, for instance, you were the top of your class, I don't know, math, physics, German, whichever thing you fancied, you kind of got used to it. And it was a good feeling because you knew you were better than the rest. But sometimes when you progress to a different environment, whether it's, I don't know, college or high school or something else, you get to experience that there are other unicorns like you. There are other people who are equally good or really, really, really excel at something that you excelled as well. And for somebody who's battling with imposter syndrome, at this point, they won't say, okay, I'm good, and that person is also good. They will conclude, okay, I'm stupid. If I'm not the best, then I am obviously not worth anything. I need to be the best, or else all my knowledge and all experience that I have is worth nothing. And it's absurd. There's no logic in it, but it's a train of thought that a person will follow. Now, the superwoman and superman complex. This is not something that you usually compare to others. You don't need to be the best in the room, but you need to be perfect. So it's a perfectionism trait where if you do not do something absolutely perfect, with no errors, with no, I don't know, issues, with no bugs, you're not worth the effort. And you don't feel good. And you don't think like you can complete the work or do the job or anything else, unless you do everything perfectly. For me, this would be probably making errors in emails. I always make at least one. But every time I write an email, if it's irrelevant, if it's work, and if I kind of miss a comma or a dot or something else, it's mind-blowing for me. It doesn't hinder the message that's being transferred. It's just wasting my time and making me nervous. The fear of failure. Now, we don't like to fail. It's a bad feeling. People tend to remember bad feelings better than the good ones. And failure is something that often happens. I mean, you start walking, you fall. You start learning, I don't know, you make a mistake. It's a normal part of process because we never kind of get to the point where we know everything. We just learn a skill and then we progress to another skill. So failure is something that imposters feel it's the end of the line. We cannot go over it. We cannot go behind it or anything else. We just completely are stopped in our tracks and we need to give up. And this is usually seen in children where they're impatient and they kind of try something once and then don't succeed at it and they kind of give up and have a tantrum. But this kind of feeling that you should be able to do something from the first go and you're not able to, it kind of lingers on even in grown-ups. The ability to take praise. Now, people like compliments. People enjoy when you give them a heads up that they did something well, that they delivered a good keynote, that they finished the project in time, etc. But those who suffer from imposter syndrome sometimes cannot take it, because when you give them a compliment, they kind of have the feeling that you're insincere. They think, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know how I succeeded in doing what I was doing, and why is that person complimenting me? Why are they telling me good job? Do they know that I struggle? Do they know that I'm clueless? And you kind of think it's insincere. So when you hear people not being able to take a good compliment or take praise, it's usually the sign that they're kind of uncomfortable with what they're doing because they don't have enough confidence in themselves to kind of be proud of themselves as well. And that's common. And this is a fun one. It's success-related guilt. For instance, also seen quite often in school children, when they get a good grade, some of them will be really, really happy, but if it's like a difficult subject or something that's really hard, they might think, okay, if I get a good grade in this, the other kids will hate me. I will be isolated. So my success will make me not part of the group. So it's a battle and a balance between, you standing out and being proud of what you're doing and being fearful that you're going to be excluded for it. And when does all this start? We could always say, okay, it's definitely stemming from our childhood, because that's where all the fun stuff usually starts. And although it doesn't always start, there are kind of indications that this is something that we need to look at. For instance, if you did well as a child, again, in something, and you never got praise for it. So your great success, whatever it was leveled out to something that's not important. And this is kind of something that breaks your scale of what's good and what's bad, because you don't have anything to refer it to. You got all the praise. For instance, a child ties his shoelaces and, parents start clapping, which is okay for the first time if the child is 2, but if they're 6 and kind of doing it then it messes up the scale of success. When you tell children that they don't deserve something, for instance, you're not going to go to the party if you haven't listened to at least 2 talks, or more simple, you're not going to get a dessert because you didn't eat your broccoli or something equally horrible. And the child doesn't see the logic in it. First, you have the precondition, you do that, and then you see the results there. They just hear that you don't deserve, because guess what? Children are pretty logical creatures. So it's about framing how you need to do something and what needs to happen. It's words matter, and context always matters. And labels. If a child gets labels like the sensitive one, the smart one, the special one, it's going to stick out, and they're going to remember it, because they're going to be, again, isolated and singled out, and they're going to feel like they need to stand out always. And it kind of messes up with your internal compass. But if we ignore all of that, even those who don't have, sources of imposter syndrome in their childhood, the environment is the one place that you can certainly and excruciatingly feel it. The best description I saw anywhere was this one. Faced with a hostile and discriminatory environment, one we are unwelcome in, our perception of our skills, our chances, and our abilities to succeed change and suffer. And this is pretty straightforward. If you come to any kind of job or an environment where somebody is actively trying to make you feel like the new kid, like the new person, checking you out and trying to determine whether you belong in their group, and if they're actively trying to keep you out of that group, you will feel like an imposter. Not because you are, but because of the environment that you're in. And there are many environments. Again, I'm not excluding, emphasizing race or gender or walk of life. It's not just IT, it's not famous or unfamous people, it's all of us. If we have an environment, let's say, at work or at school that is hostile, you are going to either participate in or feel like an imposter. And that needs to change. So my personal advice to all of you, those who have experienced it, those who haven't, take a deep look at your environment, talk to people in it. If you know that there are people within that environment that do struggle with imposter syndrome or are not really comfortable in the group, talk to them or ask them questions or be an advocate for them and try to raise awareness. And if you are in a toxic environment at work and you're not able to, talk to management or your boss or your team members and you see that nothing is changing, my suggestion is that you can also leave it. We have seen many instances, both on Twitter and other, where people have decided that participating in a culture that is no longer deemed as constructive and welcoming is just not for them. And I think that's fair for the workers and for the companies, because we should be happy at what we do. We should be comfortable at work. I think that we're most productive when we come to work and we know that we are welcome and that we're being, mentored and we have backup. And I guess that all of us just want it like that. And now the $1 million question, do we have it? You need to have at least 4 out of 10, so I'm just going to skim through them. Have you ever worried that people may find out that you're not as capable as they think? Do you ever feel pressure to know the answer to any professional question that somebody might ask you? For instance, if you're good in Flutter, do you think that you need to know everything about Flutter? Is it hard for you to accept compliments? Do you secretly compare your abilities to those around you, or check if they're better or not than you? Do you feel like you were in the right place at the right time? For instance, you finished college and you just think you're lucky and you passed all those exams by luck and not by knowledge. Do you ever think that if you can do something, then obviously everybody else can? Do you agonize over the smallest flaws in your work or your hobbies or whatever? Do you become defensive when somebody gives you constructive criticism? Now, again, I would just like to make a digression and say that constructive criticism that points out the issue and tools how to solve it is not criticism that we tend to see very often in our environments. When you're successful, do you think that you fooled the people around you? And do you ever think that you'd have no clue at what you're doing? I think that we kind of always have a situation in our lives that this might come to play, but if there are one of or many of you here that never experienced this, then great. So basically, if you said yes to 4 or more, then you would classify as a person that might have some experience with imposter syndrome in their lives. And now we go to the solution. Now, I gave you a heads up in the beginning that there is no solution, because this is us. I mean, the person that we're battling with is ourselves. It's not some kind of external influence. It's our brain telling us that we are not as good as we should be or something similar to that. But there are mechanisms you can use in trying to cope with those problems. First of all, you need to name it. For those of you who ever watched Harry Potter, you might recall this scene in which a bunch of kids have a task to, I don't know, face their biggest fear, and they need to do it by envisioning the thing that they think is funny. So they need to visualize, and they need to be able to see what they're battling with. Now, this is obviously an issue when you're battling with yourself. I mean, it's not your neighbor telling you, you fooled your boss. They're going to find out that you're not capable as you think. It's you. It's the little voice in your head. And for you to be able to address it, you need to distance that thing that's talking to you, and you need to be able to call it by a name, by a form, by anything. You need to be able to visualize it, because when you visualize it, then you can tackle it. If you were outside and somebody was, I don't know, badgering you on the street and trying to talk to you and they were being rude, you would probably tell them to go away. And it's more difficult when you're kind of talking to yourself and that little voice in your head. But there are ways to kind of separate the two. Your goals at work and others need to be smart. And by smart, they need to be specific. They need to be measurable. They need to be achievable. For instance, have few bugs in a project isn't something that's measurable. What constitutes as few? If you worked on a project for a year, do we expect 1 bug? Do we expect 10,000 of them? What's the level of few? So they need to be achievable. They need to be measurable. They need to be relevant. For instance, you being proficient in figure skating will not probably be relevant to what you're doing. So they need to be, again, work-related. And they need to be time-bound. That means you have a specific amount of time in which you need to complete something, because we like closure. When we start work on any project, the best feeling is when you kind of deliver it or publish it, and you know that the first phase, the fun phase when you develop, is over, and you feel a sense of accomplishment. We like it, we need it. That's why we break things into little chunks, because we get that completion much sooner than if it were, I don't know, a 5-year project. You need to find balance. Now, by balance, I mean you can have many extracurricular activities, you can have hobbies, but you need to have a clean line that separates your work and your not work life. You need to be able to sleep. You need to be able to stare at the wall if that's something that relaxes you. But you need to be honest with yourself and say, okay, until 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, I'm working, and after that, I'm shutting everything out and I'm just going out with my dog. So clean lines, separation of concerns, and you will be able to better control your time and what you're doing with it. Progress over success. Like I said, we are in an industry when we never know everything. We continuously learn something else. We progress. For instance, since this talk started, I bet there were at least 3 JavaScript frameworks that were emerged and died in the meantime, and who knows what's new there. But we never complete anything fully. We never learn a skill fully. We just keep adding up experience to what we do. And that's something we should focus on, not just being able to get a certificate or something, but the knowledge and the experience that we've gained up until any point. And this is the one I really like to emphasize at the end. Failure is just an attempt that you didn't complete yet. So you not being able to do something at this point, it doesn't mean you won't be able to do it, 2 days from now, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or after, some schooling or whatever. So don't think about failure as something that stops you in your tracks. It's just something that you need to rework and continue afterwards. And it's always an option to stop in your tracks. It's something that always happens whether we like to or not. They usually say if you cannot do it yourself, you should teach or mentor others, and it doesn't fall short in this particular subject. If you're struggling with imposter syndrome, I think the best thing that you can do for yourself and your colleagues is to offer help. You need to be able to speak about what's troubling you, and you need to create a safe environment around yourself in your workplace or school or whatever, where the other people who are struggling are safe to speak and share, and possibly get inputs from you on how to be better or how to progress with what they're struggling with. And I think that even in a work environment where things are okay and the environment is constructive and productive, I think that we see the best kind of progress when we kind of work as a team. And it's no different with this. We just lend our hand and we're faster together. And definitely you should speak up. So if it is an experience that you had in your life or are having, you should be able to speak up with your loved ones, with your family, with your colleagues, friends, whatever. Share, write a blog post, anything, but share your experience. Because I think that even in conferences like this, when you come to hear other people's, topics, we all know that we're not going to learn everything in a particular talk, but we're going to get inspired. We're going to laugh at what people did wrong and how they managed to get out of it. We're going to be, more knowledgeable about how people are handling their work, and we're going to be better off after it. We're going to know more. We're going to experience new things. So definitely you should speak up. And you should definitely keep a track record. So if you're struggling with imposter syndrome and at the end of the year, you want to draw the line and see, okay, I did this, I didn't do that, you should keep a track record. For instance, if you got an email from your client saying that they're really, really pleased with your work and how you're communicating with them, or how well the feature was built and how very few bugs they had, you should keep a folder. This is fine, not the burning dog, this is fine, but actual this is fine, and keep a track list of what you've accomplished. I don't know if you have any kind of appraisal reviews in your company, but it also comes in very well when you need to discuss the salary at the end of the year and you say, okay, look, boss, I did all of this. Even if you're having trouble with negotiating, this will be, it's a fact. Who can dispute the fact of what you did? And finally, or almost finally, you need to keep in mind that it's not just you. So statistics, we love them, and they say that 70% of people out there have experienced this in one form or the other. So it's not, a mystical unicorn out there that nobody knows what it is. And my suggestion to you at the end was, if you're fearful of something and you really want to try it, or you really want to do it, whether it's a hobby, where it's a new language, a new instrument, or something else, you should do it anyway. So just go out and do it. Don't think, don't over-prepare, don't procrastinate. When this conference is over, put money in towards that hobby or something else, just try it. Because even if you don't succeed at first, the joy of doing it will be immeasurably bigger than the fear. So that would be it for me today. Thank you.